Hey, a few more words on another concept here, which is called spatial analysis. Something that we do a lot when it comes to working with applications related to mapping is doing different types of analysis on the data that we're using. So this is something that can get really complicated, and I don't want to get hugely bogged down in the whole idea of like what is spatial analysis and what's some examples of spatial analysis. I am working on another course which is going to be focused specifically on doing spatial analysis, since it's kind of a whole world, but it's a concept you should know about. So to do it, we use data to find interesting observations, to deduce things from the data when it comes to mapping. So for example, in this little thing that's going on here, sometimes it's purely visual. Maybe someone has a few different points but wants to see what's the area that's covered by these points. And in our second thing over here, we have like a bunch of polygons that show the area covered by points. Now, in the abstract, that doesn't make a lot of sense. You really do have to have some purpose for what you're doing. So for an example, I worked for a few years on a golfing application where basically golf coaches could analyze shots and guide their students in terms of like what direction they should shoot for, or based on their past shots, how far they could expect to shoot, or what direction they should ideally shoot based on the wind and the center lines of the course, and some common errors. We'd even break the green down into a grid and color it like so that the red areas were like where you didn't want to go, because it was less likely that people who took shots from that area got it in the hole or got to an advantageous position. Showing people, like distances as they were making shots. So if they hit a shot and then they went to it, they would know instantly like how far they went. And these are all just basic spatial analysis stuff that get broken down based on different chunks of data. So a client might give me, the center line of a course, the end hole, the green as like polygons or lines, and then ask me, hey, can you break this down if I give you X, Y, Z other data? And I have to think about, okay, based on the data you gave me and what you want to have out, what kind of spatial analysis can we do? A common, easy example is something like, we have a whole bunch of locations in a state. We want to know which counties sell the most per capita or something, if we have fast food locations or something. And so we need to know some different data. We need to know how much population in every county. We need to know the boundaries of every county. We need to know the locations of all the different restaurants, and we need to know the sales of all the different restaurants. And then we're going to have to do some kind of like analysis, which places are in which counties, and how do we represent them on a map and color them appropriately so that at a glance, someone gets the idea right away of like which places sell the most and which are the worst performing. So there's simple versions of this all the way up to very, very complicated stuff, but there's all kinds of spatial analysis that's out there. I mean, I was even running last weekend a long distance race, and I had like one of those bibs on, and it has a little location tracker, right? So when you pass certain points along the course, it measures how fast how long it's taken you, and then it predicts how long you'll take to the next marker. And that's done with spatial analysis, right? That isn't done using a web interface, but spatial analysis is just done with any kind of geographical data and any kind of predictive information that's needed, or analyzing the information. The difference when it comes to web is that we tend to put these in visualizations, which is really helpful. And we also tend to chain things together. So we might find out, okay, I have the polygon of a green, of a golf green. First of all, I need to break it into a grid. How do I do that? Okay, we find out how to do that. Now I have to find out, how do I color the grid? How do I find the average? How do I do, this, that? So there's a lot of kind of like, okay, we start with this data, now we go to this and this and this, and at the end we get something brand new and something useful to whoever is looking at the data. So for this kind of thing, we tend to use this thing called turf.js. This is a library in JavaScript that's used for this. We're not going to go over this in detail. We are actually going to use it once or twice when we're doing maybe more than once or twice when we're actually doing our work. So I want to introduce you to it. It's got lots of crazy, complicated stuff going on, but at the core, they're just they're like basic analysis tools that then you can use like tools in a tool belt to solve certain problems. Some that we're going to look at are going to be bbox. We're going to use bbox, and we might use something else in there. I'm not sure exactly what yet. I can't remember, although I have set up the course. But yeah, we're going to use this a little bit, so I want to introduce you to the idea of spatial analysis, that you might be using it. Maybe you already do it, but we're going to touch on it a little in mapping, and overall, it's something that you're going to face a lot if you go into mapping more broadly. Anyway, that's it for this one. See you in the next.